What's happening, guys? So I've been MIA for a little while. I just recently moved into Connie's place. I've been trying to figure out a spot to sharpen on, and kind of came up with this idea. It's just an old table that she was going to throw away. We just kind of got it set up in the middle of the dining area as a island, and got a bunch of lights around so I can record some video and actually make it look halfway decent. This is going to be a temporary setup. I'm not going to stay in this location. I'm probably going to figure out something else because I'm not too happy with the way it's set up currently. Regardless, Connie just got this Benchmade Anthem in. I'm going to go ahead and re-edge it. The existing bevel has some flat spots. The edge is very, very coarse and toothy, and it's quite wavy. So breaking out the Shapton Pro 120 to get started. I was kind of messing around with it on the Shapton Glass 500, and it wasn't doing enough removal of material to meet my satisfaction. So I decided to break out the big guns. And I'm glad I did, because just like that, I'm ready to go. Switching sides. This 120 is among my favorite coarse stones. You don't have to put pressure down. The stone just cuts. It is a little friable, but that's one of the components that helps it cut so quickly and so well. I got a little bit of a area here in the base. It's got some scratches from factory still, so I'm going to concentrate on that for a minute. And like I said, this was kind of wavy, so I may have to just spend a little time here and grind that straight. Got a big old nasty burr. I'm going to go ahead and cut some of that off. Just about got it. I'll bring it around and show you guys. So you can see right there at the base of the edge, it's a different color. It's not shining as brightly as the main bevel. That is the factory scratches I'm trying to grind down to. And I got a little bit more up here in the belly area. I'll concentrate on that once I get this squared away. I am removing quite a bit of steel here. Unfortunately, the way they ground it from factory, it's just got to be done. Like I said, this edge was severely wavy. Now when I'm doing this back and forth motion, I'm not applying additional pressure. I'm just applying the weight of my hand basically, and I'm going back and forth and just doing that little bit of finger pressure is pinpointing exactly where I need to grind, right here in the base. And because this stone is so friable, it's so quick, it just works without a lot of pressure. And I'm going to give you guys a full video tonight. I'm not going to edit out too much, so you can see exactly what I had to do and how long it took me. I am a hair's breadth away from having that ground out. So this is Shapton Pro 320. If I didn't mention it, this steel on this knife is 20 CV. Looks like I'm changing my angle a little bit here. I ground this thing at a pretty shallow angle. I'd almost be willing to bet this is close to 12, 13 degrees. Next up, we got the Shapton Pro 1K. I should be able to zip through these stones fairly quickly. I may, when I'm all done, bring the sharp maker out and micro bevel it at 20 degrees. I want to get it on my edge finder and see where it's actually at. I've got a sneaking suspicion it's pretty low. I got a spot right in the tip. It's really low. The other side, this side I'm sharpening on, looks pretty good. But right here at the very tippity tip, I got a little spot shining at me. I know I went over this before, but if you ever need to get down to your tip, I got this tip from Jay Davis. Go through your whole stroke like you're doing the full sharpening, and when you get to the tip, just hold that angle. And that's where you want to sharpen. And I've just about met that low spot. I may let that last little bit ride. Give it just a few more passes here, see what I come up with. Yeah, I'm gonna let that last little bit ride. Pretty much got everything else. I am not liking this setup. Having to bend over pretty far to reach the stone. Probably be more comfortable for me to sit down, but I don't like to sit down and sharpen. I prefer to stand. So this is a Shapton Pro 2K. This is a Shapton Pro 5K. This particular stone is starting to get pretty thin on me. It's one of my absolute favorites. I use it in conjunction with just about every other set of stones I've got. This is my favorite stopping point right here. Once I get an edge on a knife, this tends to be the last stone that particular knife will see. So keeping it flat and just general maintenance of it, I've worn it down pretty well. I've got some backups. I've got a whole set of the Kuramaku series ready to go to take the place of my current lineup. Haven't figured out what I'm going to do with my current set though. I may end up giving them away while there's still some life in them. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. My buddy Max, he described this stone as looking like purple Laffy Taffy, which when he said that, I mean, that's exactly what it looks like. It's got the little dots on it and everything. Looks just like purple Laffy Taffy, or grape, whatever you want to call it. This stone polishes really, really well. I bought a whole set of Nagara stones from Dr. Matt. Don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He is a straight razor sharpener. Tons of tutorials. Super nice guy. But he gave me I think it's a 5-stone set that he had bought from Keith Johnson. There's one particular piece of coma in it that's just enormous. I've kind of played around with the Bolton stone, but I haven't done any serious sharpening with them. I'm curious to see how they'll hold up with my new Japanese cutlery and my Japanese J-nuts. I guess that's kind of superfluous, Japanese J-nuts. But I am curious to see how they work with the J-nuts. That's it for the 5K. I've got one more stone here I want to throw out. This is my Shapton Pro 8K. I don't normally take my knives up to this high of a grit. I just find that it's not necessary. But I want to see what kind of polish I can get on this 20 CV. My 5K just doesn't seem like it's getting the polish that I like. I don't think this stone is really doing much for the edge. Like I said, this is going to be more about the polish for me. So you may hear me go over angle as I ride that shoulder, getting some of them scratches out. You can see not a lot of metal swarf is being generated. These stones just don't cut 20 CV all that well, especially the finer you get. I'd really like to see some real high grit silicon carbide stones come out. That would be a nice reprieve from aluminum oxide or ceramic. I do have that 8K Sahira G8 stone, and I do also have that 4K Edge Pro Diamond Matrix stone, both of which are capable of producing very high polishes. But you just don't get the same level out of those stones as you do from aluminum oxide. They just polish so well. Those stones, although they can give you a nice polish, I tend to use them more for their edge, the cutting edge of whatever particular steel I'm trying to sharpen. regardless, those stones are packed up in some boxes stashed away in Connie's guest room. Even if I wanted to use them, I don't know where they are. It'd take me 2 days to figure them out. If you're curious, the only stones that I actually got out and prepared to use are my Shapton Pro and my Gritomatic silicon carbide stones. Those are the only ones I set aside for easy access and retrieval. Between these stones and the Gritomatic, I can handle just about any steel that comes my way. I'm going to go over this knife one last time. I cleaned the stone off. Yes, I'm riding the shoulder. That's why it's making that terrible screeching sound. I think that's where I'm going to call it with the stones. My final step, as usual, is stropping on white compound. This is a strop that Chad Howard sent to me. I may have to hold this in my hand. And I'm going to hit it on the green compound just for good measure. Because why not? There's still some waviness going on in here. Not too terrible. Much better than where it was. Same for this side. Still a little bit of a wave going on. But it's much better than where it was. See if I can show you that little low spot. There it is. You can see it right in the tippity tip. Don't think it affects sharpness. No. That thing's still sharp. I would get the Best C tester out, but I have no idea where it's at. It's packed away along with most of my other stuff. So you guys just have to bear with me while I'm in transition. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down below. I appreciate you guys watching. You have a good one.